Emily Hayes burst through the hospital doors at 11:47 p.m., rain-soaked, the nurse's call still ringing in her ears. Frank was dying. She sprinted toward the ICU, her heart pounding, wet sneakers squeaking on the linoleum.
"She's not family," Susan Hayes spat, her arms crossed like a barricade.
Emily stopped short, chest heaving. "Susan, please. He's my grandfather. I need to see him."
Brian snorted. "You haven't visited in years. We know why you are here."
Susan turned to the nurse. "She doesn't go in. Only family." The nurse's face flushed. "I am sorry, but I have to follow the listed family's instructions."
They have no idea who I am or what I promised him.
Susan waved a dismissive hand. "Go home, Emily. You are not part of our family. You never were."
Emily stood frozen, the heavy door, a wall between her and the grandfather who once pinned captain's bars to her uniform, the only family who ever believed in her.
"You missed my daughter's wedding. You vanished for 3 Christmases. Where were you, Emily?"
I was on active duty overseas. It wasn't my choice.
Active duty. You mean manning a desk in some back office?
I commanded a Navy hospital ship through 3 deployments, but they'd never believe it.
"Frank sees you as the daughter who abandoned him. I am the one who stayed."
Admit it, you are just a paper pusher, hoping for an inheritance.
If only they knew the lives I've saved, the storms I've weathered.
"You are nothing but a disappointment. Go back to your little government job."
He told me once, "Windlass, you are the only one I trust with my final watch."
Emily said nothing. The truth coiled inside her like a loaded spring, the one secret that could shatter Susan's illusion of being the only one who mattered to Frank.
The nurse hesitated at the door, her expression troubled. "He's been restless, asking for Captain Hayes over and over."
Emily drew a sharp breath. "That's me. He's calling for me, Susan."
Susan scoffed, waving a hand. "He's delirious. The name means nothing."
Brian stepped forward, smirking. "You are not a captain. It's just the rambling of a dying man."
The nurse turned to Emily, lowering her voice. "He's been repeating it for hours. He wants you." Susan's face reddened. "You are not going in there. Nurse, step away."
Brian pulled out his phone, his thumb hovering. "Security will be here in 2 minutes if you don't leave."
Emily's jaw tightened. The thought seared through her mind. He promised me his final watch. I can't break that.
Her hand curled into a fist, fingernails biting into her palm. She would not be cowed. Beyond the door, the ventilator hissed. Somewhere inside, Frank was running out of time. She turned away from the ICU, her steps heavy, and found an empty chair in the waiting area. Alone, the silence amplified the hiss of the ventilator in her mind. The memory surfaced. Frank's hands, steady, despite his age, pinning the captain's bars onto her whites 3 years ago on the USS Defiant.
"Emily, you are the finest officer I've ever served with. These ranks are just metal. Your heart, that's what makes you a leader," Frank said.
The memory tightened her throat. She opened her eyes, resolve hardening. She stood. As she rounded a corner, voices froze her. Susan and Brian, huddled in shadows.
"If Emily gets in, she'll talk them into changing the DNR. The estate goes to charity. Everything Frank built." Susan hissed.
"Don't worry. By the time they figure out the legalities, he'll be dead. We just stall her," Brian whispered back.
"She abandoned us. She doesn't deserve a cent." Susan spat.
The revelation hit. They would watch him die just to protect a payday. And she was the only one standing in their way. She slipped away and found the administrative office, still lit in the midnight hour.
"My grandfather is in the ICU. My aunt is blocking me. Can you help?"
The clerk shook her head, citing policy, no healthcare proxy, no authority.
"They're going to let him die over paperwork."
She pulled out her phone and dialed the Navy liaison, fingers trembling.
"This is Captain Hayes. I need the Surgeon General's office immediately. It's about Frank Hayes' DNR."
The automated voice answered. She left a message and hung up. Dread coiling in her stomach, she pressed both hands against the ICU glass. Frank lay motionless, a web of tubes and wires.
The chief of medicine is on his way. He knows about the situation.
The clock read 12:04 a.m. Time was a luxury she did not have. Footsteps echoed. Steady, purposeful, and Dr. Nolan, the chief of medicine, appeared in the corridor.
Captain Hayes, I am Dr. Nolan. The nurse briefed me on the situation.
Thank you for coming. They won't let me see my grandfather.
Her mind flashed back. Frank in dress whites, no longer an admiral, standing beside her on the deck, his eyes crinkling.
Ranks aside, you are the admiral of my heart, Captain. I'll follow your orders anywhere.
A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it.
The DNR is on file, but without a recognized healthcare proxy. Your aunt is the default decision maker.
I have a copy of the power of attorney, but it's at home, an hour away. He doesn't have that time.
I can try to reach the Surgeon General's office directly. It's unorthodox, but given your rank and the circumstances.
Somewhere down the hall, a door opened, and Susan's sharp voice demanded to know what was taking so long.
Susan strode toward them, Brian at her shoulder, eyes blazing. Still here, Emily, trying to manipulate the chief now?
Brian smirked. What's your plan? Tell them you are an astronaut too. Nobody's buying the captain story.
They'll never understand the weight I carry, and they don't need to.
The ICU door burst open. A nurse shouted. His pressure's crashing. He's slipping away. Susan threw out an arm, blocking the doorway. Number, not one step.
Emily's heart pounded, but she forced her voice steady. She wouldn't let Susan see her break.
Footsteps broke the standoff. Dr. Nolan emerged, phone still in hand.
I just received word. Captain Stanton, the Surgeon General, is en route with Frank's advance directive.
He's coming. Hold on, Frank.
The clock on the wall ticked toward 12:30. Frank's heart danced slower with each passing second. The double doors at the end of the hall swung open, and Captain Marcus Stanton strode in, a junior officer at his side clutching a leather briefcase. He stopped in front of Emily, his eyes crinkling with a familiar warmth.
Captain Hayes, he said, taking her hand in both of his.
Susan's face contorted. Who is this? What's going on?
I have Admiral Hayes' advance directive and durable power of attorney, Stanton said, addressing Dr. Nolan. We need a private room immediately. The situation is critical.
Susan lunged forward. You can't just take over. That's a forgery.
Brian's voice rose, cracking. She's not even family. This is insane.
Dr. Nolan stepped between them. Follow me. The conference room is this way.
The aide fell in behind Stanton, the briefcase held tight as Susan's protests echoed off the sterile walls. Stanton opened the briefcase and spread the documents on the conference table, the DNR directive front and center.
This is Admiral Hayes' advance directive. It names Captain Hayes as sole healthcare proxy.
Susan's shriek cut the air. This is a fraud. She's nothing but a desk clerk who wants his money.
The signatures match. 2 naval officers witnessed it. It's ironclad.
Brian's voice cracked. She's going to pull the plug for cash. This is criminal.
The document is legal. Captain Hayes now has full authority over his care.
Susan lunged for the paper, but Stanton blocked her arm with a swift, commanding motion.
I am calling security. This behavior is unacceptable in my hospital.
A security guard stepped through the door, hand resting on his belt, eyes sweeping the room.
Emily's fingers brushed the page. Frank trusted her alone. She would not fail him.
Dr. Nolan turned to the nurse. Captain Hayes is to be given unrestricted access to the patient. Escort her in.
Stanton placed a hand on Emily's shoulder. He's been waiting for you, Captain. Go to him.
Behind them, Susan thrashed against the guard's grip, her curses muffled by the closing door. Emily walked down the corridor, her spine straightening with every step, the weight of command settling over her. She stopped at the ICU door, hand pressed flat against the cold steel, then pushed it open. Inside, the machines beeped in slow rhythm. Frank lay pale and still, lines etching his face. She crossed to the bed and sank into the chair beside him, her fingers finding his.
She leaned close, her voice barely a whisper. "It's me, Windlass. I am here."
His eyelids trembled, a breath shuddered from his lips, but no words came. Outside the door, Susan's fury rose to a scream, but inside there was only the quiet vigil of a granddaughter and her admiral.
"Do you remember the storm off Point Mugu? You called me Windlass because I held the ship steady. The Surgeon General brought your DNR. I'm going to honor it, Admiral. You won't suffer. Please remove the ventilator tube. The directive specifies comfort care only. His suffering ends now."
The nurse hesitated, her hands trembling, then gently disconnected the breathing apparatus. Frank's eyes fluttered open. For a heartbeat, he looked at her and knew her.
Windlass, you kept the promise, he whispered, each syllable a struggle.
She pressed his knuckles to her wet cheek. "I kept it. I am here."
His grip tightened, then softened, and the monitor's steady beep dissolved into a single tone. Emily held his hand, listening to the silence where his breath had been. Admiral Frank Hayes had sailed into the final deep. The watch was over. She folded his hands across his chest, the way you'd close a book, and pulled the blanket smooth. Then she turned and walked out. The door clicked shut like a final order.
Susan was on her before she took 2 steps. What did he say? Did he ask for me? Did he change the will?
Brian's voice cut in. You didn't even let us say goodbye. What did he tell you?
Emily didn't answer. Her face was stone. Tears dried into salty tracks.
"He gave me peace, and all you want is money." He knew.
Susan grabbed her arm, nails digging. Answer me.
Emily pulled free, her arm trembling with the effort of restraint.
Stanton stepped between them, his voice cold stone. "That's enough. She's in mourning. Your questions wait for the attorney."
Emily walked past them, her gait steady, and disappeared into the corridor's harsh light. Susan's curses echoed behind her. 3 days later, in a wood-paneled law office, the Hayes family sat across a mahogany table under the gaze of a brass lamp. Mr. Halstead, the attorney, adjusted his spectacles and broke the seal on Admiral Frank Hayes' last will.
The last testament of Frank L. Hayes. To my daughter Susan and grandson Brian, I leave my gratitude for your presence, but my estate requires a different purpose.
Susan leaned forward, a slight smile playing on her lips. Different purpose? Well, we're his family after all.
To the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, I bequeath the entirety of my estate, including the house and all financial accounts, for the establishment of a veterans hospice.
Susan's face contorted. That's impossible. He'd never cut out his blood.
Brian slammed the table. She manipulated him. That woman, she conned a dying man.
Halstead raised a hand. The will was drafted 18 months ago, witnessed by 2 naval officers. It is legally binding.
Emily sat motionless, her hands folded in her lap, a single tear tracing a path through her stoic mask. The room fell silent, except for Susan's ragged breathing. Then Halstead slid a sealed envelope across the table toward Emily.
To my granddaughter, Captain Emily Hayes, I leave my most cherished possession, the flag that flew on my last command, and a sealed letter from my hand.
Brian shot up. This is absurd. The old man was delusional. She doesn't deserve a dirty rag.
Halstead's tone was ice. The will is witnessed and sealed. Any contest will fail in court.
Susan slammed both palms on the mahogany, but no one flinched. Emily's fingers trembled as she tore the envelope open. Inside lay a crisply folded American flag, its colors muted by age, and a single handwritten page. She lifted the flag as if it were made of glass, pressing it to her lips. Tears spilled down her cheeks. He gave her the flag. He gave her everything.
Brian's voice cracked. You can't let her walk away with that. It's the last piece of him.
Emily didn't hear them. She was 1,000 miles away, on the deck of the Defiant, the wind in her hair. My dearest Emily, No admiral ever had a finer captain. The flag I fly with is yours, a symbol of my absolute trust. You stood with me in storms, and you never let go. Keep this flag, and know my love sails with you. Frank. Emily pressed the paper to her chest, a sob escaping her lips. Susan's chair screeched backward. She lunged across the mahogany, fingers hooked like claws.
This is a disgrace. That letter is a fraud. She wrote it herself. Susan shrieked.
Halstead's arm shot out, a wall of tweed. Mrs. Hayes, control yourself, or I will have you removed.
Brian grabbed her shoulder, but she shook him off. Her focus locked on Emily. Emily rose slowly, the flag and letter pressed to her heart, her gaze fixed on the door.
We're done here, Emily said. Her voice held the calm of deep water.
She walked out of the conference room, the corridor swallowing her silhouette whole. Emily reached her sedan in the law office lot, the flag pressed against her chest.
Susan burst through the exit, her heels cracking the silence. You stole everything. You are not real family.
Emily's hand paused on the door handle. She turned, her spine iron, her eyes steady.
Family is earned. Susan, I earned his respect through decades of service and sacrifice. What did you earn? He left you nothing because you only saw him as a paycheck. I held his hand when he died. I was there. That's family.
Susan's mouth opened, but the fury choked her. No words came. Emily didn't wait. She climbed into the car, the door slamming shut like a bulkhead. The engine turned over, and she pulled away, leaving Susan alone in the gray afternoon. Through the rearview mirror, Susan's figure shrank, a tiny, raging silhouette against the concrete. A week later, under a hard blue sky, Captain Emily Hayes walked through Arlington in navy dress whites, Captain Stanton at her side. They approached a fresh grave, the marble headstone etched with the name of an admiral. Emily knelt on the damped grass, the folded flag cradled in her arms. She laid the flag onto the marble, its colors bright against the white stone. Then she rose, stepped back, and brought her hand to her brow in a slow salute.
He'd be proud of you, Captain. As are we all, Stanton murmured.
Beside her, Captain Stanton raised his own hand to his brow in silent salute. The flag that had flown over the Defiant now marked the final resting place of its commander. For a long moment, only the wind stirred, rustling the small flags around them. Under the bright sun, Admiral Frank Hayes was home. Emily let her hand fall slowly, fingers still trembling with the weight of the moment.
A quiet, sad smile touched her lips as she turned to Stanton.
Stanton nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. They turned and began walking away, two officers in white disappearing into the sea of headstones. The folded flag caught the sun, a bright rectangle of color against the white marble. Ranks of white marble stretched in every direction, silent and eternal.
Fair winds, Admiral, Emily whispered, so softly it was meant only for him.
Stanton glanced at her, then ahead, his pace steady beside hers.
The camera lingered on the folded flag, then slowly tilted up to the vast blue sky. Somewhere, a bugle sounded distant notes, and Captain Hayes walked on, carrying the Admiral's legacy in her stride. Later, alone at the end of a wooden pier, Emily watched the sun melt into the Pacific. She opened her palm. There lay the small brass compass Frank had slipped into her hand the day she made captain. A memory surfaced. A younger Emily on a sailboat, Frank's hand guiding hers, his voice steady as the tide.
A good officer knows her true north, windless. The compass will always bring you home, Frank had said.
The water lapped gently below, the golden light catching the compass's worn brass.
True north wasn't a place. It was the people who trusted you when the world spun wild.
She closed her eyes and breathed in the salt air, feeling the weight of the last week dissolve. Frank had given her more than a compass. He'd given her a definition of family that no birth certificate could rewrite. In the end, family isn't about blood. It's about who trusts you when the storms hit. She tucked the compass back into her pocket, turned toward the shore, and began walking, steady, certain home. Emily walked along the pier, the wind tugging gently at her clothes, the half-sunken sun painting the sky in amber and rose. Her footsteps were slow, deliberate, each one pressing the weathered wood like a quiet declaration of peace.
Carry on, windless. The echo of Frank's voice accompanied her, not as a command, but as a companion.
She did not look back. The horizon was where she belonged. Always forward, always steady. Below, the ocean whispered against the pylons, a lullaby older than memory. She reached the shore, just as the sun dipped below the water, the world slipping into twilight.
She would carry the compass, the flag, the call sign, not as burdens, but as ballast.
The pier stretched empty behind her, the boardwalk ahead aglow with the first lights of evening. She paused at the edge of the planks, took one last breath of salt air, then walked on. Captain Emily Hayes was home. The camera pulled back, and the pier stretched long into the fading gold, a lone figure walking at its edge. Below, the sea shoved softly against the wood, a rhythm as old as any prayer a sailor ever said. Emily's silhouette was sharp against the blaze, straight-backed, a captain still. Captain Emily Hayes would continue her service, carrying the legacy of an admiral who believed in her. And somewhere beyond the horizon, Frank Hayes saluted one last time. The light bled from the sky, and the sea took back its quiet. A gull cried once, and the pier stood empty. But the compass in her pocket pointed true. The camera held on the gentle water, the last band of orange swallowing the day. Slowly, the image softened into darkness, and the only sound was the hush of the tides. And then there was only the ocean, vast, enduring, and at peace. The dark came gently, the way night always does, after a long watch, unhurried and kind. Far out on the water, the last gleam of sunset was only a memory, a smear of amber fading into indigo. The pier stood silent, its planks still holding the echo of footsteps that had gone and would not return. Somewhere, a buoy clanged softly, steady as a heartbeat, steady as a heartbeat, steady as a ship's bell marking the hour. The ocean asked nothing, and gave back only what you were willing to leave behind. Frank Hayes left his trust, his flag, his compass, and the lesson that family is forged in salt and steel, not blood. Emily would return to sea, not to escape, but to serve, carrying his name in every command and his faith in her choices. The camera lifted to the stars, pinpricks of ancient light, and the sea answered with its own reflection, infinite and calm. And in the quiet, the story folded itself into the tides, complete, the watch relieved, the watch remembered, fade to black.